FHA and conventional loans. What makes the most sense for you? If you've a first-time home buyer, these are really the first two programs you're going to be discussing typically with a loan officer in most situations, most common loans, really in the country. So FHA, Federal Housing Administration, is a government insured mortgage. Essentially, it's backed by the Federal Housing Administration. So as long as you kind of abide by their underwriting guidelines, you can have this very lenient mortgage. 3.5% down payment in most cases. Very loose debt to income ratio guidelines, really lets you stretch your budget to pretty crazy numbers. A little bit more strict as far as underwriting on the home. Has to be move-in ready. A little bit more picky about condition, wobbly railings, GFI plugs, peeling paint, things like that. Obviously, the big ticket items: the house is safe to live in, utilities, the roof's good, all that. Conventional loans are kind of quasi-government-backed mortgages through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those are basically big, giant banks that buy up these loans. It's still not really a government loan, but it is to a degree. But it's a lot more lenient on, condition of the home, smoother, there's less hoops to jump through as far as guidelines, typically a smoother process. A little bit more money down. Typically, there are 3% down conventional loans. Usually not going to get as good of a rate. Need really high credit. First-time home buyer. 5% down is a typical, first-time home buyer conventional loan. 680 to 720 credit is what's needed. The higher, the better. Conventional loans, there's a lot more, variation in the rate you're going to get. The mortgage insurance, it's private mortgage insurance. With a conventional loan, so your down payment makes a big difference on that front. So talk to your loan officer, discuss, what your options are, have them lay everything out, payment-wise, down payment-wise, credit score, debt to income ratio. You probably qualify for a higher loan with an FHA loan, but you might have a easier process and a more, looks a little bit better on paper when you're making a conventional offer. So again, no reason to not to get qualified for both programs. It just may be situational which one you want to use. See what's right for you.